We want our final segment today to focus on what's ahead for New Mexico. John, let me ask you this. What do you see as the flashpoint in the coming months and years outside of water issues, but all environmental issues? Is there something coming that concerns you?
I think Albuquerque's relationship with its river and the set of decisions that need to be made about what kind of a natural environment we want here. There's a lot of people, a lot of talk. Mayor Barry has been very active in this area. Former Interior Secretary Salazar was here pushing this idea. We have the new Price's Dairy National Wildlife Refuge, Valle de Oro. There's a lot of attention being focused on that, a lot of community desire for that, but we don't seem to have the kind of institutions in place that are going to be necessary to kind of move us forward in that direction. And
what's missing in your view?
Well, there's no place at the table, and I hate to keep coming back to water here, but it's the nail, and I've got this one hammer. We don't have institutional mechanisms other than the Endangered Species Act for putting water in that natural system, that narrow strip of woods between the levees. We have systems for putting water in the farms, and we do a good job of that, and as I mentioned before, that's part of the natural environment. But for really thinking through how we as a community want to have that natural water, that living, flowing river in our midst, we don't have the institutional mechanisms yet to do that. And there are people who are trying to build them and create them, but they don't exist yet.
Sure. Interesting. You live in the North Valley. I lived there for a bunch of years. It's interesting to me the proximity to the river and how it changes people's attitudes. It's a very interesting thing to me. If you have a sense of what John's saying, VB, if you can put your toes in it literally or just look at it at sunset, something changes. So there's been a hue and cry for something better and more for the future. What do you see as some of the flashpoints, though? What do we need to push through to get to the next level about protecting the environment here in your view?
Well, I think it has to do with water, too. I think water quantity issues are on everybody's mind. But water quality issues, contamination of water, always reduces water quantity.
Okay.
So when you have a 24 million gallon jet fuel spill, which is probably the largest in the country, not something unique. Many Air Force bases all around the country have these problems. But when you have that, and it's maybe 10% to 15% of the groundwater in a drought, that's an enormous amount. Not only that, we haven't spent the money, anywhere near amount of money to put in the number of wells that we need to characterize what that plume actually is. So we're just kind of flying blind. We do know, though, when you go to George Air Force Base in California, let's say, they have spent 31 years and $113 million trying to clean up a 500,000 gallon spill. So I think these are things that are going to rise up as water becomes scarcer and scarcer and scarcer. We're going to have to confront the fact that we haven't spoiled everything, of course, but we have had some terrible accidents.
Let me stay with you on that one, too. And Karen, I'm going to get you another second here, because what you're bringing up is interesting to me. The idea of the underground river that moves. And the science about how big it is, how deep it is, what levels are moving, what direction. These are very, very difficult things to assess. Are you comfortable with the science as it stands now at what we know or don't know about this plume, who it's going to affect and when?
Kirtland says they own it, so if you own it, you pay for it. I mean, as an example of what you need to understand an aquifer, Kansas has 70,000 metered wells. They know pretty much exactly what the Ogallala Aquifer looks like underneath their state. Nebraska doesn't have those wells, and so it kind of doesn't know. We have, I don't know, it's in the hundreds of wells up at Kirtland, but we need in the thousands. I mean, this is an enormous thing, and you read headlines all over the state that say, oh, this is, approaching Albuquerque's groundwater. It's in Albuquerque's groundwater.
Gotcha.
So this is a major, I would think it's the most important environmental disaster we've experienced. And yet, despite your efforts, in your headlines, it's, out of the blue. But it will become a flashpoint.
Yeah.
Because when we need that water, we're not going to have it.
That's right. That's right. Karen, from your point of view, the flashpoints that are coming up and what points towards the future for?
I think we've got to manage our forests better. To your water quality and water quantity.
Absolutely.
We're letting our forests burn, which is destroying water quality, it's destroying water quantity. We have got to move in and thin these forests and let them grow like a forest is supposed to. And the idea that we can just let it burn, is just mind-boggling to me. I live in the North Valley as well, and after the Los Conchas fire, you know, how bad did the river smell? I mean, it was running black.
It was. The ditches were all around.
Yeah, and it was, you know, the smell, we lost water quality. We have got to find a way to get the federal government, and I don't know whether the state can do that or not, but we have got to manage these forests. You know, take a drive to Ruidoso, take a drive into Glenwood and Reserve. We sit at a place this year that if we get a heavy rain season, Glenwood is gone.
Interesting.
I mean, it burned everything up that would hold water. And
There's nothing stopping it? at
nothing
this
stopping
point?
it. It's
Yeah.
gonna, I mean, there's been a lot of money spent preventatively, but I'm not sure that if we got a heavy season,
Sure.
that would do that. So we have got to start managing our forests better. And that, while, you know, in a drought, it's easy to say, well, you know, maybe that'll help. But it will, in fact, it will help. I mean, we get more water to the ground, we get more water in the river, and we get cleaner, better water in all of those things.
Interestingly, John, in Santa Fe County, there's been some good progress about this very issue Karen's talking about. That does cost money. I want you to explain what's happened, and even in Southern Colorado, there's been some wonderful things.
Yeah.
And does this point towards an answer for us in fixing some of this problem?
So one of the great models for doing this, for addressing what Karen's talking about, is really, I think, one of the most serious environmental problems we face in the state, which is the poor health of our forests. Collaboration between sort of the range of stakeholders that includes the water people. Water agencies have a stake in healthy watersheds, and Santa Fe is a model. People around the Western United States look to how Santa Fe did this. The Santa Fe Water Utility, along with the National Forest Service and a bunch of other parties, including the Nature Conservancy, worked on that watershed. And they're not done yet, but they've made significant progress in trying to, thin and control burn and make that watershed healthier to protect the water supply for a city. And folks at the Nature Conservancy right now are working on some interesting projects to try to create these necessary collaborations to get the water agencies involved, to recognize their stake in forests. That's not their land, but it's where their water comes from. So you see, for example, in Denver, in Aurora, and some places in Oregon, where water agencies are stepping up to address this environmental problem that doesn't sound at first blush like a water problem, forest health, but our water comes from watersheds.
Interesting. But this is going to cost money. And interestingly, you helped us with some information getting ready for the show about some positive steps that are being taken.
Right.
What jumped out at me is someone has to pay, the federal government, Karen mentioned a little bit earlier, somebody has to write the initial check to get these things going, either as a match, a federal match, or something else. But we're in a new era. We don't have earmarks anymore. We don't have ways to get our senior senators to pull some dough to New Mexico for some experiments. So on the issue of what it's going to cost, what's your sense of that? How do we get through that?
After Los Conchas, I did a bunch of work on forest health. I did a bunch of stories. And I came away from that experience incredibly discouraged when I looked at the scale of the problem. And I was at a workshop last year in Arizona with a bunch of people who are working on this problem. And there were a bunch of people talking about solutions, the Santa Fe example, what's going on, the Forest Restoration Initiative in Arizona, the Collaborative Forest Restoration Projects here. And the question kept coming back to, but how do we scale this up? It's such a huge problem. That's really discouraging. It's very expensive. The federal government doesn't have money to throw at this problem. And
Scaling up meaning if you take care of Santa Fe's problem, you still have Reserve's problem. And they
we
still
have
other people still have a problem.
we can spend a lot of time taking care of all the problems and that we point to, and there's still 10 more.
Right, exactly.
But on that point, our forests are natural resources. That lumber is natural resources. Yes, we have totally lost the infrastructure in New Mexico to be able to log and use that wood, as I think God intended. But if we can go back to looking at the economics of forest management, I don't think the federal government has to write that whole check. If we can go in and utilize a resource that grows back, that if you manage that way probably isn't going to burn, then part of that check is written. Now, as I said, trying to get the infrastructure rebuilt is problematic, and we're going to have to find costs. And then there's other things you can do. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Alan Savory, but he does a lot of work with high intensity, low duration grazing. And we had a plan that we never could get anybody to look at that would allow us to run cows through the Los Conchos burn. They would churn up that ground. Their natural biological systems would replace seeds and grass and those sorts of things. And you wouldn't leave them there very long, but you'd take a large group and let them tromp something up, plow it up, reseed it if you will, and then move on to the next space. There are a lot of those kind of things that are out there that are available that if we could get the Forest Service to look at, if we could get some partners besides just us saying, well, you're just trying to raise, you're just caring about cows. We don't just care about the cows. You can use animals in a really good way to enhance the environment.
I appreciate you saying that because other areas have used goats
Yeah.
for that very thing you're talking about to great effect
Exactly.
around the world. Interesting. Phoebe, if you would. Yeah.
Well, I was just really curious. Nobody was interested in it.
No. We went to Washington, D.C. Howard Hutchinson with the Coalition of Counties and I do a lot of work together. We went to Washington, D.C. We went to see the Forest Service. We went to see our congressional delegation. And everybody said, yeah, that's a great idea. We'll pull a group together.
Nobody ever did.
And it still hasn't happened. And kind of circling back around to this topic that we talked about earlier, but the Native American or Indian community has a huge stake in all this. And they're willing to collaborate as well. And that's something we haven't done a good job of, is sitting down at the table with those folks.
I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah.
One of our northern tribes suffered big loss in the fire recently, so there's issues that they've been dealing with
Right.
as well. I want to thank you all very much. It's been a really interesting discussion. I appreciate, Phoebe, you mentioning Earth Day low those years ago, 71, 70, whenever that was, 69. But here we sit in 2013, and there are issues, and there are problems that need to be solved. And I think all of us need to be educated to the level that as much as John can impart to us, as you and Karen, your side of things, we all need to get our heads in the game and understand all the stakes involved here. So thank you very much for those efforts to help us all learn more about that. So we're out of time for this week. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time, you guys.
Thank you.
We're back to headlines and other public policy developments next week. Plus, I'll sit down with Roger Cook of Ask This Old House to talk about the ethics of landscaping here in the Land of Enchantment. I'm Gene Grant. We'll see you then in Focus.